Welcome back. Time now for our poll position. Hala.
BON recently reported on new data from the independent Pew Research Center in the US, which shows how Americans view China. In the center's report, 44% of Americans think China is the largest economic power in the world, more than voted for any other country. That compares with last year when just 30% of Americans thought China was the largest economic power.
Now, 53% of the American public surveyed think China is a main threat to US security, but just 21% of American foreign policy experts polled think China is America's biggest threat, down from 38% in 2001 and 30% in 2005.
Now, this survey has made the news here in China, and website Huanqiu.com has asked Chinese net users how they feel about the results of the survey. The fact that 44% of the US public now says China is the world's leading economic power has prompted 80% of respondents to say Americans know nothing about China's current situation, while just 15% say it shows Americans acknowledge China is strong.
The website also asked if net users think China and the US will become allies in the future. 20% said yes, while 60% said no, and 20% weren't quite sure. Now, there were a number of comments on this, Hala.
Absolutely. One user saying that now China isn't the largest economic power. The 21st century is the century of China and America, but the 22nd century will be China's century. There's no doubt about that. In the middle of this century, China's economy will be at the same level, but China's military will probably be weaker than America's.
Well, another couple of short comments. One simply says China and America are destined to become allies. And the other short comment says China and the United States will never become allies because our values in every aspect are completely different. Very differing views there.
Absolutely. Someone else adding, from a national point of view, China looks like a strong economic power, but the majority of China's people still live in poor conditions and are low-income families, even in urban areas. In the United States and the UK, they are facing serious economic recession, but most people there have money and a much higher standard of living.
And finally, a last comment saying most Americans don't know anything about outside the United States. They just get their ideas about China from the quantities of its products sold in the US.
Absolutely. Do stay with us. BON News continues with NetCheck after this.